Yes, 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 yes. Another day, another dollar, y'all. Welcome to another episode of Day to Day with Dorothy, with yours truly, Dorothy, and Sierra introducing us into the mix. Yes, 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 yes. Let's see. See what we can do. Because I also don't want, who is it, Facebook to get any bright ideas and be like, oh, we can't let you play this because you played your tunes and you don't own those tunes. But thanks, Sierra, for ushering us into another episode of Day to Day with Dorothy. So, look, I'm going to get it together and I'm going to write today's title on IG so that we can get it together. So, look, I'm excited. I love talking about power. Hi, TCS sister. And I'm going to pin today's topic on IG as we get ready to jump in. So TCS sister has arrived. Hey girl, hey. All right. So look, as you can see, I got a new do because it was time. I had to take the twists out and wash my hair and jump in so that we could participate and make some magic during Who Got the Juice Now week, aka Power Week. Jana, my Jana. 3 snaps and a shoulder roll. You see how I like to follow directions? I can follow instructions. Side note, Jana, you were the winner a couple weeks ago. Did you get your plug t-shirt? Let me know. Let me know. All right, so look, this week is Power Week, and we're talking about different aspects of power, how we get it, how we keep it, and how not to make sure that somebody else takes it, how not to let it go, that whole bit, as it relates to work and getting ish done. So allow me to introduce myself. I'm Dorothy Enriquez. I am the host of Day to Day with Dorothy, our live Instagram Facebook show where the best episodes live on TCS TV, aka YouTube. So if you have not subscribed to TCS TV, you may want to participate and jump in so that we can make magic happen. Especially because I go live in the middle of the day while you're working. Sometimes you can tune in, sometimes you can't. And if you want to make sure that it's a good episode, going to TCS TV is the place to be if you're trying to catch up on older episodes of Day to Day with Dorothy. All right, honey, hair, yes. Listen, I tried to pull it together for y'all. Hey, Joanna, hey. Side note, so look, Joanna was a winner too. Listen, it pays to play here at Day to Day with Dorothy. Joanna, did you receive your copy of The Plug? Let me know, let me know. All right, so I'm your host, Dorothy. I am the principal and founder of The Communication Strategist, a boutique learning and leadership development firm where I help ordinary people become remarkable leaders. Ordinary people like me, ordinary people like you, transform and really put their back into it when it comes to this leadership thing. Because listen, y'all, if you've been following me for a while, you know I'm always super honest that I barely survived corporate, and I do not want that for you. I wish I had somebody holding my hand along the way so that I wouldn't make those CLMs, aka career limiting moves, where I literally, put just hang myself and kick away the chair myself, right? Because I would just be making so many mistakes and no one felt compelled to guide me. What the hell is that about? What happened to help a coworker out? Like, if you're watching me drown, throw me a life vest, why don't you? So, that is why I created TCS, to help ordinary people like me and you step away from ordinary and towards remarkable. And if you're tuned in to Day to Day with Dorothy, I know you are not out here just trying to be all regular degular. You want to be able to take it to the next level. And I want to help as your personal change agent. As I put on these spectacles. Yes, got the shirt. Thank you. Yes, 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 yes. Making magic. So, taking off the spectacles. Hopefully, the internet is rallying. I feel like it seems like there's a little slow, there's a delay, it's connected to Wi Fi, and it's still trying my life, but we'll see. So, welcome to today's episode Power Play. So, I want to share 3 tips around how to acquire power from a leadership standpoint, right? When we are going to work every day, getting our hustle on, and trying to be out in these corporate streets killing it. Okay, so I got my notes. No one can lead who does not first acquire power. And if you tuned into the very first episode, we talked about the different types of power, right? So we talked about hierarchical power versus network power. Oftentimes, hierarchical power takes a while to acquire, right? It could take an entire career. You start off as a secretary, and 30 years later, you're the CEO. That would be hierarchical. Versus the network power would be like, I know a bunch of people in the city of Milwaukee, and they've all been sort of vying for my success. Go do it, Dorothy. Go start your own business. We'll support you. We'll help you, find clients, etc. And so I launched my business from my office and then quit my job, and boom, here I am in all the it places with all the it people, growing this business, growing my online community, etc., etc. And I go from 500 followers to 50,000 in about a year. And now I'm at all of the summits, etc., talking about like how I did it. Cool. That would be network power, right? So now that we've got that established, no one can lead who does not first acquire power, and we know there's different kinds, and no leader can be great who does not know how to use power. The other thing we've talked about this week is what women do with power, because we want it just as much as men do. But when we get it, we really do use the power for good. And we want to leverage the fact that we've got the juice to then make a positive impact, to be effective, to be impactful, and to elicit and solicit change, which, listen, y'all, could you imagine what the world would look like if more people like this were in power, right? And in positions where our voice could really be heard so that we could make a difference. Imagine if Congress was 25% more women. And then imagine of that 25%, 50% of them were women of color. Black, Hispanic, Asian, Pacific Islander, whatever, Indian, whatever the case may be. That's probably not the right term. So if you're from like India, you're Indian, right? Let me know. I don't want to be saying the wrong thing. Okay, so the other thing that I had, because I love me some HBR, Harvard Business Review. Successful leaders somehow manage to do both, right? Acquire power and then know what to do with the power. That's the both. And they can accumulate power, right? And then use it to some great end if we're going to be successful. So those are the things that I want us to keep in mind. And here are my 3 tips for getting power. This episode is called Power Play. And yesterday we talked about the power struggle. But today, power play. How do we get power at work? So the first point, low-key shameless plug, but it's for real. The first point is to become the plug, right? And when I say become the plug, I'm talking about the aspect of becoming the plug where you are the remarkable leader that every colleague wants to work with. That's that element that I'm specifically referring to. Because being a good colleague means that the entire group that you're associated with can achieve results even though you're not in charge, right? But because you're there, because you're present, because you're the magic, we can bust a move. And how many of us are associated with so many different work groups at work, right? We're in an employee resource or affinity group. We are working on project A and it's cross-departmental. We're working on project B, it's cross-functional. and then we're working on Project C, and it is specific to our department, but it's going to be rolled out and create high levels of visibility for us and everyone who's on the team. Imagine being the one connected in all of those areas. While you may not have formal leadership, you've got influence, right? Because leadership is influence. And while you may not have direct reports, you're not a people leader, you still have influence and you still play a role and bring the magic to the project. That's called being a great colleague, colleagueship, aka being the plug, right? Being the remarkable colleague everyone wants to work with, right? So maybe you could be filling in for a coworker that's not there, or maybe you're showing up at an event that's a work-related event, but it's not required. Maybe you're pitching in with ideas and information on someone else's project. And this is going to lead into my next point, but it's this idea of being a fantastic coworker, right? And being the one that when people are thinking about, sometimes I think of corporate like Red Rover, send Dorothy right over. That's who I want to have on my team because she gets stuff done. She's a team player. How often do people that look like us come to work and say things like, I ain't come here to work? Her. That I used to say that, especially early in my career, because I'd be so frustrated. I just didn't know what was going on. And I'd just kind of be like, I don't know what to do next. So then I'm just going to have an attitude and rebel, right? Or how often do we show up to work and people ask us all sorts of questions. How was your weekend? What did you do? And we literally just blow them off, right? We're not trying to build relationship in order to get to know people and find that point of connection so that when it's time to pick who you want on your team, who are you tapping, we tap and select the people that we know. And if I ask you every weekend or every Monday how your weekend was and you're always blowing me off or you just don't want to connect with me, when it's time for projects, sis, I'm not going to be thinking about you. I'm just not, right? So being the plug, being that great colleague is one way that we start to engage in the power play, right? To acquire power as a leader, especially if we are not a people leader where we have a formal leadership title. So that's number one, big bucket idea number one. Because did you know that colleagueship is considered a sign of whether someone can take on bigger leadership responsibilities? And in organizations that tend to be flat, which now a lot of organizations aren't as hierarchical as they were 40 years ago. They're just not. Like 30, 40 years ago, there used to be like 40 layers between like the bottom person and the CEO. It would just be so many layers. Now, many of us can look at our org chart and see that we're about 3 people away from the CEO or 4 people away from the CEO. So it's just not as distant as it used to be. So in flat organizations and or decentralized organizations, colleagueship is considered as one of the elements to help people decide, will this person do well and flourish in a leadership role? Something to think about, y'all, especially because we are trying to acquire power. Hi, TCS Mommy and Daddy. Welcome, welcome. Thanks for tuning in. Oh, let's see what else we have. Yes, look at that. Kodak moment, shoulder roll. Okay, so look, big idea number 2, give and take. We all know people at work who are trying to take everything. Essentially, they're playing this game. I think it's a quote from Mark Twain, right? Give 10 times or take 10 times as much as you give. Or for every one thing you give, take 10 times the amount. And we know people at work who are takers. They really aren't looking out for you. There's no reciprocity. I did you a favor, so you're going to do me a favor. They're not even like trying to match you. They're not trying to match your level of this give and take idea, narrative, formula, whatever you want to call it. They're just taking. And on top of that, we see people at work playing things very close to the vest. They don't want to tell you nothing about nothing, right? Like, how did you get your PowerPoint to be so polished so quick? We both had to get PowerPoints together, and yours looks like it's just on fleek. It's on point. Oh no, I mean, I have a guy, but I can't tell you why. It's not. Why not? Oh, well, how did you get your training? Like everyone was so engaged. We're both in the facilitation department. How'd you get your training so tight? How'd you get your training so together? Oh, well, I can't give you that information or else I'd have to kill you. People are like this all the time. They just play everything so close to the vest. They're not willing to give anything, but they're willing to take everything. We all know people like this. But did you know that givers, people who are willing to part with the info, they are the most successful, right? Now, can giving turn around and bite you in the behind? Absolutely. There has to be a way that you can give without giving so much of yourself that now you're missing deadlines. You're giving so much of yourself that now, you're not ever getting anything in return. You're giving so much of yourself and you're connecting other people to what they need or who they need, but you're not making sure that you get connected as well. But ultimately, when we are givers, that allows us across industries and across functions to be more powerful across the board. Because here's what's true. When you're a giver, people want you to succeed as you accelerate because they know how you roll. They know you're not stingy. They know you're not playing things too close to the vest. And they know that you're willing to pour into others. And women are good at this. That's why we can get ready to acquire this power and be like, we got the juice. Hi, Lux Ankara. Hi, Luxie. Thanks for tuning in. Shoulder roll, shoulder roll. So look, that is the second big idea. This idea of give and take, right? But if you're going to spend more time in one area than another, it is to be a giver. Stop feeling like everything has to be a freaking secret. Listen, sis, I could give you the whole recipe, okay, with specific measurements about how to run a leadership development firm, boutique style. You could have a master's degree in leadership. Shoot, you could have a doctorate. You still can't do it like me. You just can't, because I'm me. And that's why, when I'm talking to other leadership development professionals and we're going out for coffee, we're going out for drinks, lunch, whatever, chitter-chatting on the phone, I don't mind sharing about what I do or how I got here or whatever, because at the end of the day, y'all, I'm the magic. Just like for what you do, you're the magic. You could tell me exactly, we got Lux Ankara on the line. She could tell me exactly how to make a pair of ballet flats. I'm telling y'all, it's gonna look like a shoe bag after I'm done with it. You'd be like, this is not designed for feet, Dorothy. You had the pattern. She even sent you the fabric. She bought you a machine. And here you go with this shim sham. No one's going to like it because she's the magic. She just is. Like, right? And so this idea of give and take is so important because sometimes we feel like because of the systems, right? And because of all these things that are in place, we feel like we cannot share. We feel like we cannot give. We feel like in many instances we can never put someone's interest ahead of our own. And I'm here to say that the research proves that isn't true. We don't have to play everything close to the vest. We can give, still win, and still accelerate our ascent. We just have to make sure that we don't do it at the expense of ourselves, that we fall on the sword for the sake of helping someone else, right? We got to make sure we put our mask on before we help someone else. But it's this idea of having this giving spirit that can be a game changer when it comes to acquiring power. All right, so last point, name it and frame it. So this is our last power play. So being the first to name an issue shows leadership. How often, y'all, do we see something at work and we don't say anything? I promise you, in so many companies, they literally have signs. And a lot of times it's, around safety and ethics and things like that. But they literally, even though it's around safety and ethics, they still have something that says, like, if you see something, say something. All the time, every company. I don't think I've gone into a single organization that doesn't have some signage around this, right? But when we're the first to see something, we see an issue, we can name the issue and frame the issue. That, my friends, that corporate hustlers, is leadership. Because in any endeavor, if we can identify new opportunities and unsolved problems and then create a space to have conversations around them, we're going to be able to take the lead. And we're going to be able to lead from the front. And we're going to be able to be the plug. Because from step one, being the plug, being a great colleague, that remarkable colleague that everyone wants to work with, we have probably built a ton of relationships. We have garnered a ton of connections. We've expanded our network. And we're ready to go in and kill it when it comes to seeing this issue, framing it up, naming it, and then being able to come up with a solution to solve it. Because, I'll give you an example. Because at the end of the day, organizations want things to be as tight as possible. And imagine if you see something, say something, and you're the one who can address it and put the team together because you've already got the network and it's your name on it. Y'all, that could absolutely be a game changer. Thanks so much for tuning in, Hiromi. Shoulder roll, welcome to the show. So we are talking about power plays today. This is Who Got the Juice Now week, aka Power Week, and we are talking about power plays. Thanks for tuning in, Dr. Katina. Shoulder roll. So look, I'm going to tell you a story around a time that I named it and framed it. So I was working at a background screening agency, right? And at this background screening agency, so for all of y'all who works at a company and they're like, hey, just do this little background check, fill this information out, and then go give your urine sample. I worked at that company. I worked at one of the companies that were leading in the background screening industry space from a technology standpoint, right? So what I was noticing at the time was a lot of clients, or they wouldn't really be clients. So a lot of the potential employees of the clients, so they've applied for a job and now it's background check time. Those individuals, the applicants, listen, y'all, this was like almost 20 years ago, so bear with me. So a lot of these clients would have their applicants go into our system to apply for a background check, right? And the applicant, because it's not a system they're familiar with, they would struggle through the application. And for us, because my company's the one that designed it, it was super easy, really intuitive. And we're like, why do they have all of these questions? Why are they so confused? So what I suggested was, what if, because we're a leading technology organization, right? It's this idea around name it and frame it. What's the problem? How can it be fixed? We notice that we get an influx of calls from applicants saying that they're confused. Why don't we create a short video that is 2 minutes or less explaining what's about to happen? Because a lot of times their potential organization just assumes you've done a million background checks, just do this one too. Listen, this reduced calls by like 30-40%. It was nuts. It's this whole idea of the power play, acquiring power, especially if you don't have a formal leadership title, right? So it didn't take me that long to put it together. What took the longest was going through the proper chains of command to make sure that it got approved. But actually seeing the issue, naming it, framing it, and then having a solution, y'all, I had left that organization and 3 years later, my voice was still on that video. Now it's probably not on there. Now they've upgraded and done all this stuff, but that was a power play. So quick review of the 3 tips around power plays, right? It's this whole idea that successful leaders are able to manage acquiring power, right? And then doing something great with it. Women are especially primed for this because we know what to do when we get the power. The research already backs this up that when we get power, we want to use it for the good. We're not typically power hungry the way that a man would be to just have the power to just say that we got the juice and then that's the end of it. No, we actually want to make a difference. So, power play number one, be the plug. Be the remarkable colleague everyone wants to know and everyone wants to work with because colleaguism or colleagueship is one of the ways that organizations assess if you are promotable into a leadership role. So that is something to consider. Being the plug, being that remarkable colleague. Also, this idea of giving and taking, try and give more than you take. When you are a giver, research also shows that you can become really successful and make it all the way to the top without feeling like you have to take 10 times as much as you give and that you have to play everything close to the vest. It doesn't have to be a secret how you put your PowerPoint together at work. It doesn't have to be a secret if you found out some secret thing in Microsoft Word that's going to make our lives go a little bit faster in our department. Why not give instead of taking? Because as you accelerate your ascent, when people realize that you're a giver, they want to see you succeed and they want to do their part to make sure you keep the juice, right? When you're a taker, low key, people want to do all sorts of things to make sure that they snatch you out of that role. Case in point, the oppressor. How many times have people tried to get this dude impeached? You know what I'm saying? Right? I think he's a perfect example. Plus, you know what I'm saying? Like, he's really extreme. Look, Christy was like, agreed. Right? And then the last power play, name it and frame it. And that's the example that I gave around seeing a challenge at work. And you are the first one to name it, frame it up, come up with a solution. And because you did power play 1 and 2, you've got people around you who can help you execute. You don't have to do everything by yourself. Adam Grant's book, Give and Take, is a great read. Oh, see? Dr. Katina is on it. Give and Take by Adam Grant. Get on it. All right, so at the end of the day, we do not have to have a formal leadership title to engage in these power plays. If you want to get the juice, you got to figure out how to acquire power, how to accumulate power, and how to keep it, and how to use it in an influential fashion. So I hope this information was helpful. I hope there's some power plays in here that you want to be trying in the coming weeks as you are continuing to establish yourself as the plug from home. Because some people still aren't going outside. I kind of don't blame you. I'm still staying inside too, although I do have a training program tomorrow and I will be outside. Literally, it'll be outside so that we can social distance. All right, y'all. So that has been today's episode of Power Play. We've got 2 more episodes in Power Week. And remember, next week is the last full week of Day to Day with Dorothy. So for all of you who've been riding and sharing and, connecting and supporting me through quarantine, thank you so much. What are we all going to do with ourselves? I guess we're going to get busy and do other work. All right. So look, I'm going to post for you so that you can share this with your friends and be like, look, lady leaders, power plays. You need these. That way you ain't got me out here like, I watched this video. Look, she's talking about power play. And I'm looking at it like, why do I look like that? Oh, okay. Get that screen capture tool ready. Yes, for power plays. So look here. If you have not signed up for the council, aka the Corporate Hustlers newsletter, where we get together and kiki about all things corporate, you should sign up. You get special deals in there, right? And listen, for those of you who are signed up, you know that you find out about stuff before everybody else does. If there's extra discounts or coupons or anything like that, you find out. And I talk about stuff in the Corporate Hustlers newsletter that I don't talk about here, even though I talk about a bunch here. But now that it's going away, how you gonna get the juice, right? So if you've not signed up, sign up. And when you sign up, you get my free ultimate corporate network checklist, right? Because we have to establish these networks and connections if we're going to be powerful. If we go how to juice, we got to have powerful networks to do it. And this worksheet helps you do that and to explore your personal brand as well. So thanks so much for tuning in. If you want to ever learn a little bit more about TCS, just click the link in the bio. I got all the links there for you to set you up for success. If you're like, who is she? Yes, for these shoulder rolls. So look, if you are not technologically challenged like me and you want to share this video, click the little paper plane in Instagram or the little share button in Facebook, and I will see you back here tomorrow for another episode of Day to Day with Dorothy. Thank you so much for tuning in, y'all. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye. All right, Facebook. You know how we do. You know you always get the last shoulder roll. Ooh, Corey Joe. Yes, hair and shoulder rolls. How are you liking the plug? I want to know. Let me know. Let me know. Yes. Oh, good. I like this. I feel like Facebook is getting it together. I think everyone's switching to the new platform. And then for me, every time I close out of the live, I always give Facebook some feedback like, oh, this happened, that happened, this happened. So I think they're fixing it up. Yes. Shoulder rolls out here in these streets. All right, y'all. You know, y'all always get the last shoulder roll. Mm-mm. 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 Yes. I will see y'all back here tomorrow for another episode of Day to Day with Dorothy. Thanks for tuning in.